Tropical Storm Gabrielle is now expected, and it's forecast to become our next hurricane of the season. Here to go over the latest information that we have on this tropical system. First thing we'll cover is current conditions. Next thing, latest from the National Hurricane Center. We now have a cone. Then we'll go over all model runs from overnight into this morning, and then we'll round the video off with today's forecast. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put in the comments below. Very important part of this channel. If it's unspoken, put that. Not only will I pray over these prayer requests, but many others will do so also. We have a bunch of prayer warriors on this channel that literally run through all the comments and pray over all of them, and I certainly appreciate every single one of you guys who actually do that, and I know there's many. So with that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's make sure this is going to work, and it is. We're good to go. So this is the Tropical Atlantic, or the MDR, Main Development Region, and the system we are looking at is this large thing right here, and it is very broad, very large. The actual center of circulation, the low-level circulation of what is now Tropical Depression 7, I will add, is right into here. You can't really see a defined low-level spin, and a lot of times we wouldn't expect to see it. Maybe later on when the sun comes up fully on this system, we'll be able to see it a little bit better. But it does have a defined low-level circulation, which has pretty much made it a tropical depression. And it is forecast to become a tropical storm, which would be Gabrielle, sometime over the next 24 hours now. I do have my doubts that it will get the tropical storm status over the next 24 hours, and I'll explain why as we move throughout this update. But anyways, it is forecast to become our next named storm, but just a very large area of shower and storm activity indicated by the colors you see on your screen, which is colder cloud tops, you know, the orange, the yellows, the reds, the blacks, and whites, and you know, embedded in between that. And I do want to mention we do have a tropical wave over here too. But I'll mention this as we move throughout this update. Model guidance has really dropped off with this, so did want to circle that also. So let's move past this. The latest cone from the National Hurricane Center. This is another way to look at it. It's called Zoom Earth. It's the same cone from the National Hurricane Center. It's just thrown on what I like to call almost Google Maps. It's not really what this is, but it's like combining the tropics with Google Maps. It's really awesome. It's free to the public, but Tropical Depression 7 is located right here. It is forecast to become a tropical storm sometime today. It said by 2 p.m. this should be Tropical Storm Gabrielle. Now, by the time we get into tonight, 45-mile-per-hour storm. Then as we start, let's go on and just fast forward to about Friday afternoon, 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. And right now, it is forecast to become a hurricane sometime this weekend. Let's just call it that. 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane, and then forecast to become an 85-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane by 2 a.m. Monday. So getting into next week, Bermuda starting to show up on your screen. Not actually in this cone quite yet, but I do expect y'all to be in the cone eventually. But as you can tell, I mean, the Leeward Islands, not in the cone. None of the Caribbean islands are in this cone. So, you know, for the most part, everybody looks okay with this. We just need to watch Bermuda. Now, your question might be, could this make any sudden shifts and get into the Caribbean? I mean, you never say never, right? But we're going to go over model runs and kind of explain why that's not likely at all. But we're on our way to our next named storm, which is Gabrielle. So let's move past this. And here's this wave right here. Still has that 20% chance to develop this wave right here into this area in the next 7 days. So 20% chance to develop in this yellow area between now and the next 7 days. But I honestly think it's going to drop off. So let's start this off, as always, 48 hours from now. So it's Wednesday morning. This is Friday morning, September the 19th. You can see it up here. All right, here comes our system sneaking up on our screen. The Euro doesn't think that this is going to really strengthen much at all over the next 48 hours. Right now, it's 1,007 millibar low. Says it will still be 1,007 millibar low between now and the next 48 hours. So we continue to move this forward. Just remember this little speck right here. This is Bermuda. And we continue. And I mean, the euro doesn't show much strengthening between now, really, until about Sunday. It finally begins to deepen into a sub 1,000 millibar low. One would argue that it takes all the way to this weekend before it even becomes a tropical storm. And that's why I have my doubts that this becomes a tropical storm today. I just don't think it does. That's my take. I'm gonna take a risk here and say it does not, but it very well could, right? You know, we can't always lock in the model guidance. We gotta look at real-time observations, but I mean, honestly, the system itself looks very large, maybe even scary to some people with what I just showed you a couple minutes ago, but it's not really consolidated. It has a defined low-level circulation, and the winds from just all the thunderstorm activity might make it an actual tropical storm. But I think the millibar will remain pretty high, which would make it still a weaker system. But anyways, moving forward here, this turns into an all-out hurricane by Sunday night. Then we get into next Monday morning, the 22nd. The euro finally does strengthen, deepen this into a 979 millibar low. That'll make this a category 2-ish hurricane. And maybe all the way down to a sub 970 millibar low hurricane. Bermuda's this speck right here. It's making a close pass to the east, not to the west. If it was to the west, of course, our attention will be a little bit more on this thing for the southeast coastline, the east coast, just in general. We still need to continue to watch this, but there is a wide open weakness that we've talked about over the last 2 videos in the North Atlantic that really points to this just kind of hooking and staying out in the ocean. So we start to get into next Tuesday, and this is just hauling butt back out into the ocean. Well, it's already out in the ocean, but, you know, remaining out to sea. Okay, anything behind this? Not really. We get between day 7 and day 10. There's really nothing that we are seeing at all. And we'll even extend this past day 10, and I'm still not seeing anything. Now, there is a little bit of something to watch on model runs, and the GFS kind of shows it too. It likes a little bit of energy kind of sneaking out the Caribbean, getting into the Southwest Atlantic here, maybe popping off a low pressure. We'll watch that. That looks more like a pattern for October, which technically this would be October 1st. But we'll continue to watch it. Guys, we're getting pretty deep in hurricane season now, I will add. Let's go over the GFS. Okay, it's the latest one. By Friday morning, 48 hours from now, same thing with the euro that we're seeing with the GFS. This is the GFS, 1,006 millibar low. Not really any strengthening with this system over the next 48 hours. That's why I have my doubts this will become a tropical storm today. If it does, it'll be a very weak one. And then we get into this weekend, and then we get into Sunday, and then we get into like next Monday, and this is barely even a tropical storm. The GFS dramatically dropped off interest with this system last night, and it looks like it's kind of maintaining that this morning in the short to medium term. Now, eventually, it does try to develop this. So 1 week from today, the GFS kind of has a totally different scenario with this. Has a category 1-ish 2 hurricane well south of Bermuda, and this thing is sort of drifting west. And I think the reason the GFS does this is because it, in a way, this system kind of farts around for too long. It stays weak for too long, and it gets kind of, it drifts further west. So this is something to watch. Now, eventually, this does gather strength, gets much stronger, and then kind of goes the same direction as the euro does, and gets back east and gets further out into the North Atlantic, and then moves away from everybody. Doesn't bother Bermuda, but it is a much more odd track. I mean, here it comes, tropical storm by early next week, like 6 days from now. Then it kind of spins around here midweek, and then it books it back to the east as a pretty strong system, I would add. So that's definitely a different scenario. In general, kind of takes the same path as the euro, but it's a little bit of a different evolution. So the Euro AI model, it's never really liked this system. So once again, if this system never really develops, you tip your cap to the Euro AI model once again. But it doesn't even really get this to a tropical storm until, honestly, it gets, well northeast of Bermuda. It never even gets it there. So it moves away. It doesn't really bother anybody. So we get to the icon just to kind of see if it's all these other model runs are being backed up. Well, if the icon is backing up all these other model runs. And the icon, same thing. I mean, just kind of keeps this week all the way into early next week. So I just have my doubts. You know, the National Hurricane Center forecasting a hurricane by, I think, Sunday. I don't think it'll be a hurricane by Sunday. That's just my take. We'll see. Now, as far as Euro Ensemble, guys, just to kind of hammer down the fact that this is most likely going to stay out to sea. This is between now and Monday morning. All the members that form something, are looking like they're getting north. Bermuda's this little speck here. And then we bump this a week out. All right, and you can tell nearly every single one of these members are getting north and then hooking to the northeast and remaining out to sea. We got one little straggler here. But we'll ignore that one because that's a bit of an outlier, right? So everything points to this staying out to sea. All right, and then we just kind of look at a further out view or a broad look, and we'll go 10 days out, and there's nothing else that we're seeing. We're not seeing really any high-end signal, not even a low-end signal, honestly, down here in the Gulf. It's dropped off. Interest for this wave behind it. So, guys, I mean, I'm not seeing anything. And you know what's wild? If we look at the latest global tropics outlook from the experts of the Climate Prediction Center, honestly, when we go to week 2 and week 3, which is what you're seeing here, this is a period where we thought we would have more activity in the tropics. We thought rising air was going to move in, but there's just been a lag with it. I'll be honest. So, the 24th through the 30th, the last several days of September, I mean, basically, just to sum this up, you got low probabilities of tropical activity across the board. Between the 24th through the 7th of October, this is the 24th through the 30th, 20% chance of tropical development in here, in this red, white striped area. And the same thing here in areas of the southern Gulf, Bay of Campeche. And then we go from the 1st through the 7th. This is an area where what we call the MDR, main development region, begins to shut down. Now it is saying, hey, watch a wave out here. 20% chance and only a 20% chance in the Western Caribbean and Southern Gulf. So this is great news. I mean, we're at this point, we got a graphic getting all the way into October, and there's just low probabilities across the board. Now listen. Do not get your guard down, especially if you live in the Gulf and the Caribbean and the Southwest Atlantic. I made a post last night on Twitter. I was like, I like tracking the tropics. Do I like tracking a landfalling major hurricane into the U.S. or the Caribbean? No, I don't. But I like tracking these tropical systems when they stay out to sea. It helps me gain knowledge on talking on them and things like that. But part of me is just ready to move past this. I'm ready to get to the fall foliage and the slow, very slow transition to winter. But there's, everybody 2, 3, 4 weeks ago saying this hurricane season was a dud or whatever wording you want to use. Some of that wording will offend people, and I don't blame them because we want it to be a dud, right? So I'm just not seeing anything. I'm not seeing anything concerning between now and at least the next 10 days. Nothing. We just need to watch Bermuda. So that's an update on the tropics. As far as today's weather, we got a low pressure over the middle of the country. This is bringing a lot of rain and shower activity and storm activity across Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, up in the areas of the Dakotas, back into Wyoming. And then we have what's left over of this coastal low bringing some rain showers across Virginia into northern North Carolina, the Delmarva. There goes that bird again. We got some rain pushing into southern New England. It's been a chaotic morning in the West household between my dog. My dog has just been antsy this morning. But watches, warnings, and advisories. There's really nothing going on. Nothing to talk about. And as far as the latest from the Storm Prediction Center, we do need to watch out for some severe storms in Kansas, areas of Oklahoma, into Colorado, New Mexico. And then we do need to watch the Southern Front Range, areas of southeastern Colorado, getting into the panhandle of Oklahoma and small section of Texas and New Mexico. We got a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather here. Tornado threat is at a 2% risk, so be aware of that. And then the wind threat, 5% risk of damaging winds, and the hail threat, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in this yellow region. Now, the risk of flash flooding, not much, but we will zoom into South Dakota, where we have a 15% risk of flash flooding, and this is the areas included in that yellow region. Now, the southeast, the only two things to talk about is some showers spinning around in Virginia, up into Maryland, northern North Carolina, and then just some tropical downpours across the southern half of Florida, down here in the Bahamas. A lot of storm activity, so expect that. Maybe some pop-up showers and downpours across Georgia, but nothing overly active. The Northeast today, some showers and storms are possible all the way up through New Jersey, maybe Delaware, Southeast PA, areas of Maryland. Could get some scattered downpours to work their way up into Long Island as we get into this evening. And it could become widespread again sometime overnight across these areas. But, altogether, pretty quiet day. We need a big rain event up here in the Northeast, New England, but certainly not going to get it today. And then the South Central U.S., big thunderstorms will fire off in the southern high plains. This is getting into this evening. We got a cluster of thunderstorms moving across central Kansas, areas of western Oklahoma, the panhandle of Texas. And we got some storms firing off here across eastern Colorado, eastern New Mexico. And just going to be a stormy night right here where Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico kind of all come together. So just be aware of that. And them birds having a good time, guys. They having just a jolly old time. The north central U.S., big area of moisture just spinning across Nebraska, South Dakota. Some of this rain will sneak into southern areas of North Dakota. Rain and storms across Iowa, southwest areas of Minnesota. Some storms. Could get some thunderstorms tonight too across like Kansas City. So be aware of that. But this thing's just spinning around here, and we get into tomorrow, and it continues to spin around. So a lot of moisture across these areas. So this is a look between now and the next 36 hours across the Dakotas and Nebraska. I know I keep saying this and going back to it, but it's really good y'all are seeing this much rain, because we know once we get into October and November, it can get very dry in these areas. And even in winter, where we get a lot of dry, cold fronts through these areas. And it's good we're getting the rain accumulating now like it is, because we can go through some nasty dry stretches from, through fall, through winter, all the way into spring. So it's good we're seeing the rain that we are. Conditions out west, maybe some rain showers, that's drifting to the Pacific Northwest coastline. Then the leftover moisture from Tropical Storm Mario in the eastern Pacific will drift into the southern California coastline. So some much needed rain will make it in. I don't think this will be too much rain where it's going to cause significant flooding, but this is waking up tomorrow morning. Look at all the rain from south of San Francisco all the way down to just about LA and just the entire central California coastline. Some much needed rain will be falling. So temperatures, area of cooler weather where we do have the leftover clouds and rain in the mid-Atlantic. So once you get away from that, it warms up nicely. In fact, it's too warm for certain areas. It's just been an extension of summer across areas of eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, even into Mississippi. I think I already said that, but western Tennessee. It's going to be a hot one in Little Rock, Memphis. So feel bad for you guys. Here in the southeast, we've kind of been saved by a bit of return flow. So even though it's gotten warm in the afternoons, it's been nice and cool in the mornings. In fact, it's 58 degrees here in my neck of the woods. Another sub 60 degree morning. I'm telling you, and for me, September seems to be going. We always talk about how time speeds up like crazy, but September's been a month that's just really went by nice and slow, and it has been just a nice, pleasant September here. in areas of the southeast for sure. But this is conditions out west, temperature wise. So that's all I got, guys. It's really slowed down. I will add, a minute or two to this. It's slowed down, and it's there ain't a whole lot to talk about. The tropics, we're going to continue to talk about it, but it's been nice to have a little bit of a slow period. August, there was some times in there where it was crazy, and I'll be honest, I thought we would be picking up a little bit more in the tropics by now, and I thought things would be busier. But if there's any time of the year where it could be nice and slow, it's obviously nice when it's during hurricane season because we're not getting any threats. But fall's a nice season where there's a lot of things going on, a lot of activities. There's football, there's there's festivals, and there's the pumpkin patches and things. A lot of things you do with your kids and family activities in the fall. So it's been nice not being glued into these YouTube videos twice a day. So just been kind of just jumping into these. So if you notice some hiccups in these videos, just not as much energy and flow, I think you guys noticed, been tuning in for a long time, know that I'm at my best when it's the busiest. When it's slow like this, I'm a lot more relaxed, just kind of go with the flow. So when it's time to be serious, you guys know we'll get serious. How we do on this channel. But like I said earlier in the video, I'm ready to. I don't want to skip to winter. I do not want to do that. But I am ready to talk about just cooler weather in general. I'm ready to move past the tropics, but something tells me we're not going to get out of hurricane season just free. I just got a feeling that something dumb's going to happen in the Gulf or the Caribbean. It's just been way too quiet there. So hopefully not. Hopefully I'm wrong. But that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a wonderful Wednesday.